A badge, a smirk, and 2 fingers snapping the hem of my summer dress like he was checking a price tag. That's how my day broke in half on a postcard street where sprinklers clicked and nobody wanted trouble. He lifted the fabric. The air and my privacy went up with it. And I remember thinking, you picked the wrong woman, you just don't know it yet. I wish I could tell you I had the perfect comeback, that I froze him with something witty and cruel. But what really happened was simpler and uglier. The neighborhood went quiet. My breath got stuck, and the sun felt colder than it had any right to feel. If you've ever tasted that nickel-in-your-mouth mix of shame and anger, you know exactly where I went inside my head in that moment. A promise small and sharp: not today, not me, not ever again. Silver Ridge Meadows sells itself like a dream. You can mow hedges trimmed into geometry geese acting like landlords' porches with rocking chairs. Nobody sits in after the photographers leave, and for a minute that afternoon, I just wanted to be a person walking. No security briefings, no calendar pings, no 3-word staff updates. That mean an entire speech. Just me. A black dress with white stitching sandals that squeak on smooth concrete, and a loop around the pond where the wind smells like cut grass and somebody else's barbecue. You know what I mean. Tires kissed the curb like a stage cue. The cruiser rolled up slow, window humming down, and I saw my own face in his sunglasses before I saw the look that says the ending is already written and he's only here to underline it. Brant on the badge, Officer Cole, Brant, a jaw always 2 seconds from a smirk, forearms like he lifts the world for sport and chooses who gets to stand on it. "Little far from your side of town, aren't you?" he said, like he was teasing a toddler holding a fake steering wheel. "I live here," I answered, and my mother's lessons showed up on their own. Make 2 things flat and firm: your tone and your spine. "Do you?" he said, and stepped out. Left the door open so the radio could murmur somebody else's bad day into mine. "ID, he said, and I told him I don't carry a wallet on a walk. Apparently that's a felony for men who collect power like bottle caps. His eyes slid down, stopped where the dress hit mid-thigh. "We keep a standard around here. Got reports of freelancing." He let the word float like bait. "Show me you belong or move along." "Harassment," I said, and it sounded steadier than I felt. "Proactive policing," he shot back. You could hear the bathroom mirror rehearsal on it. He circled slow, and then he did the thing. 2 fingers under the hem, a quick flick, fabric and air and privacy cracking in one motion. The breeze turned into a thief. A hose clicked off somewhere. I swear I heard it, and the whole street watched with the kind of silence that hurts worse than laughter. When he let go, the dress fell like a curtain that knew it was late. He leaned in. "Consider this a warning. We keep things clean here." Walked back to his open door like a man strolling away from litter. He didn't drop, rolled off, and the neighborhood inhaled like a scene was over and the crew needed quiet. Yeah, that happened. Inside our house, the governor's house, if you read brass plates for fun, the AC felt like a church tile underfoot. Echo that turns your heartbeat into a metronome. I crossed the foyer and found Daniel in the study. Sleeves rolled, brow in a knife fight with the budget. He looked up because he always looks up when I walk in, and the smile stopped so fast it left skid marks. I didn't have a speech. I had pieces. He touched my dress. I said. He lifted it. "Some words are sand in your teeth." He stood so fast, the chair barked the floor. He didn't shout, didn't throw. He went somewhere colder than anger. I've seen it 3 times: when a donor tried to buy a policy, when a school board buried an assault, when his father died, and a staffer pitched a press release before a condolence call. "Name," he said. "Brant." I said, "Officer Cole Brant," and he picked up the secure line the next hour, played like a drummer's hands, short and sharp. "Sophia, I need you now. Sophia Nguyen." Attorney General with eyes that don't blink when the truth blinks. Pull complaints, deposits, anything with his name on it. "Yes, I know what I'm asking." Click. And then he turned to me and took my hands like they were the only soft thing left in the room. "He picked the wrong house," he said. "He picked the wrong woman." Morning turned the desk into a crime show, folders and tabs and yellow flags, like a field of tiny surrender banners. Sophia sat opposite, crisp suit voice like a scalpel. 12 complaints in 9 years, she said. Excessive force profiling, retaliation, cleared in-house every time she tapped a page. See who signs the clearances. Chief Walter Briggs. I had met Briggs last week. Handshake like a campaign ad cologne that made promises, a smile that could hold a straight line through a hurricane. I could hear the script before he walked in. "We take this very seriously, Mrs. Reed. We have standards, we'll review procedures." Daniel invited him anyway. "Let a man lie to your face and you'll learn how big his lie really is." Briggs arrived with concern pinned to his lapel. "I'm appalled," he said. "Administrative leave, full review, spotless record until now." "Spotless," he said, "spotless. You ever hear a word clang on the floor?" That one did. Daniel didn't blink. "Preliminary findings by 5, he said. Briggs nodded, stood and left a scent. I can only describe as politics and lemon peel. Door clicked and Daniel stared at a spot on the wall like there was a pin through it. "He won't crawl into a shell of policy and wait this out," he said. "If the front door is barred, we go through the garage." We moved underground that afternoon, a quiet room in the Capitol Annex that used to store podiums nobody uses, whiteboard, dry erase markers that stain your fingers with purpose, a flowchart where names turned into arrows and arrows turned into money. Brant wasn't just a bully with a badge, he was payroll for a triangle of greed. Vince Calder, the bail bondsman, Martin Hale, the defense attorney, Owen Strickland, the developer who likes his duplexes without poor people in them. Brant steered arrests to Vince. Martin smoothed pleas like butter that never touched heat. Owen got favors on evictions, cash shaved off and laundered into money orders. Like a magician's act, where the rabbit is always somebody's rent. You want a front door, there isn't one. You want a back door, it's spelled Greed. We needed Brant to be Brant on tape, not in my memory on tape, clean as a confession and twice as loud. So we brought in Agent Tasha Vale, sharp calm, that smile you can click on and off like a lamp. She became Ray Monroe consultant, new money, big car, bigger calendar nose, watches and wine, but not neighborhood rules. We staged a theft of her imported coupe right on the edge of Brant's patrol pendant mic, shaped like a lopsided teardrop pinhole camera in the glasses. GPS that could find your grandma's keys at Thanksgiving. Tasha dialed 911 with the right mix of frantic and expensive. Brant arrived and I watched on a monitor in a van half a block away. My fingers dug into the armrest till the vinyl squeaked. He saw Ray and softened Ma'am Officer Brant's shame about a car like that. Official channels. They take time. She did her part. "I can't wait weeks." He leaned in, voice like a secret. "You don't want, but kind of do. I know people. They move quick. They don't work for Yelp reviews, 10,000 cash, and I can make sure your life gets found by sunrise." He slipped a burner number like a magic trick, she texted later. We lined a gym bag with marked bills and tightened every camera within 4 stories. The deck was concrete with views of more concrete. He showed up with the swagger of a man who thinks he's the smartest person on a map. "You got it," he said, and she unzipped the bag just enough for him to smell dye packs that didn't exist. His eyes lit like a slot machine that only ever lands on cherries for him. He reached, then paused, head tilted, eyes narrowed, settled on that teardrop pendant. "Niece necklace," he said. "Bit chunky, isn't it?" And his hand shot out faster than the man who lifted my dress, but powered by the same entitlement. He ripped the chain clean off. Our audio blew into static. He slammed Tasha into a pillar. Her camera spun, floor, ceiling, floor, and died. The van leapt forward, tires preaching Hail Marys. But by the time the tactical team hit the ramp, he was gone with an agent in his backseat and a head start made of alleys he knew like childhood dares. The phone rang with a number that belonged to nobody, which is how you know it belonged to the devil in our story. Daniel put it on speaker. "Governor," the voice came through, blurred by a cheap scrambler. "You want your actor back? You'll hold a little show. Clear my name. Tell the world your wife got dramatic call off this witch hunt. Do that, and Agent Vale goes home." Daniel went quiet in that way that makes other people talk. Brant filled the silence. "Tick-tock 1 hour if I don't see you kneel on camera. Your wife takes another walk. Only this time I won't stop at the hem." The taste in my mouth came back metallic and mean, and when the line went dead, the whole van forgot how to breathe for 5 counts. You know, that kind of quiet, the kind where fear and fury sit shoulder to shoulder. Then Daniel said what he always says when somebody thinks they own the board. "We're not going through him, we're going through what keeps him standing." We leaked what we could without breaking what we couldn't, a tight piece to a reporter who still remembers what a spine is. State probes corruption at Fairview Heights. PD threats cited no names, just enough smoke for people who sleep around fire. Sophia moved money like a surgeon Calder's bail shop, frozen Strickland's property fund. Frozen phones rang hard enough to leave dents. We walked into Martin Hale's office with a folder you'd call thin until you realize truth doesn't have to be heavy to land hard. "You like your law license?" the investigator asked. "How about weekends with your kids? Help us, or watch your name trend for the wrong reason?" He cracked, not like a glass dropped, more like ice thawing, slow and inevitable. He made the calls we needed, voice hovering on panic. "Owen Vince Brandt's off the rails. Meet tonight, Dock 7. We cut a final deal and run before the state eats us." We made sure Brandt heard it. Men like him don't run from betrayal, they crash it. Night at Dock 7 smells like Rust River oil and old lies. One bulb swung and made drama we didn't even need. Vince and Owen paced. Martin sat at a metal table like a man waiting for a dentist who hates him. I watched from the van with Sophia on comms and a thermal feed that turns bodies into truth. One heat shape slipped along the wall and in through a side door. Cole Brandt looked like every bad night you've ever had. Tired, wild, certain, gun out. "Contingency plan, huh? Final payout. You really thought you'd cut me out after I built your little church of profit." Martin raised his hands the way you do, when you hope a word can make a gun. "Forget it's a gun. Frank, be rational, saying a first name is a trick to make a person feel human again." Brandt wasn't buying it. Rational was 10 grand a week ago. Rational was you shutting up and taking the money. "I fed you, now we're on crazy," Sophia said into Martin's ear. "Push him," and Martin did. Crazy was lifting the governor's wife's dress. "Frank, that's what blew this up. You couldn't help yourself. You had to show off." And Brandt's mouth twisted. "She needed to learn the rules," he snapped, voice rising, words landing on every wire in that room. "You think you waltz into my beat and blink those big eyes and I don't check what you're hiding? I kept this place clean. Kept you all paid. I put people in line, her like the rest." And there it was, his full confession, motive method pattern delivered like a sermon to a congregation of microphones. The loudspeaker crackled and a voice bigger than the room said, what I'd been waiting to hear since a dress fell across my knees. "Drop your weapon." Officer Brandt. The bay doors jutted up. Light poured in like judgment. A wall of shields and rifles moved forward. Red dots climbed his chest. The gun fell and made the kind of sound your bones recognize. He looked at the wires peeking from collars he used to tug in private. Looked into a camera. He couldn't smile away for a second. I almost pitied how small he looked without the costume of invincibility. Then I remembered the way the neighborhood watched their shoes while he lifted my dress, and the pity went where it belonged. The fall didn't stop at one pair of cuffs. Morning delivered Chief Briggs out of his office in a slow walk he tried to make dignified while the hatch of a black SUV framed him like a bad portrait. Vince folded within hours. Owen tried tough until a spreadsheet told him he was softer than yogurt. Martin sang like a choir he always pretended he didn't know. Complaints poured in. Once people realized the wall was drywall, not brick. The Justice Department rolled into Fairview Heights PD with a notepad, and a long memory reform stopped being a t-shirt and turned into paper training oversight, and a new kind of shift where you can't clock in with a lie and clock out with a bonus. 2 weeks later, I stood on the Capitol steps. Daniel beside me, not in front of me. The crowd looked like our state, loud, quiet, angry, hopeful. I didn't read. I talked. A man humiliated me on a pretty street because he believed a badge made him a king and my body made me a subject. I said he was wrong about both. I talked about neighbors who stared at their lawns, a chief who rubber-stamped other people's pain. Regular people who keep their heads down because they're tired of learning. The rules are different for them. I talked about fear and about the day. Fear gets bored because it realizes it can't make you move. Then we laid out the Sunlight Pledge Act we wrote with organizers and public defenders and mothers who have every precinct on speed dial body cams that can't be shut off by the people wearing them. A civilian board that isn't a cocktail party, with minutes real consequences when you weaponize authority. A clause that says, if you lie on a report, the report gets to testify against you. People cheered. Some cried. I saw a man in a blue uniform nod once, look at his shoes, nod again, and in that tiny motion I saw the long road and the first step taken anyway. That night on the balcony, the city sounded different sirens that meant something else, laughter that wasn't forced, the breeze that didn't take anything from me. This time, the scar of that street is still on me. Scars don't leave. They turn into maps. They show you where you swore you'd never pass again and where you learned you could. I thought about Cole Brandt in a cell staring at a ceiling that wouldn't blink away from him, And I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean tired, stubborn, ready to go argue about commas in a bill because commas separate A right from a loophole. You laugh, but it's true, you know what I mean? You want a perfect bow on this, I get it. You want me to say he got 40 years. The chief wrote an apology. The neighbors brought a casserole with a handwritten note. Real life walks slower than that. Trials take time. Policies get watered until we yank the hose back. People slip into comfort when the noise fades, and somewhere on a different cul-de-sac, a different woman is doing the math on speaking or swallowing because she knows the cost of both. Here's what I can promise: if you humiliate someone in my state and ask the system to tuck you in, the system is going to find it misplaced, its blanket, and found a spotlight, and it's hot. If you're still with me, tell me what justice should look like. Here is a confession in a warehouse enough? Or does justice only start when culture shifts on quiet days with no cameras and no chance? Were the neighbors, bystanders, or accomplices? What would you have done on that sidewalk? Drop your city. In the comments, argue it out with respect. And if you've ever seen a teacher, a nurse, a kid at a lunch table stand up to abuse of power, tell me how it ended, hit subscribe. If you want more stories told, the way they're lived, a little messy, a little defiant, and aiming for the kind of ending we can all stand in.